Well, there's one last thing to do, Brian. We have to arm wrestle.
Do we? I'm not the best arm wrestler.
Perfect. You come to the right place. Right. What would you like, buddy? It's your choice.
So what would be like the Miller Lite bourbons? Like
Get
the
out.
lightest.
Now, I hope this doesn't get me flagged, but
yeah.
I think there needs to be more wooden spoons in this society.
Yeah.
We've become way too soft. So there's a lot of different whys to join the military.
Yeah.
Like you just gave a few examples.
Yes.
What was your why?
My why at the time was I always wanted to be that guy charging the beach, right? Look, from my viewpoint, I believe she was a problem. I'm sure you could bring her on here and she's going to tell you I'm the problem.
I should bring her on here.
You should have us on together.
Oh my God. All right, Brian, at this point in life, we've talked about childhood leading into the military, into your current, I guess, life. But before we started this show, I alluded to a moment in time that you were told that you were going to die. Are you ready to talk about that?
Yeah.
Welcome to Barbells and Bourbon Strength in Stories. I am your big, bald, bearded, barbell lifting, bourbon drinking son of a bitch, Sean. And joining me today is Brian Marzka.
How you doing, Sean?
Welcome to our home, Brian.
Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you. Brian, we spoke briefly a couple days ago. That was like our getting to know each other period. That's all I know of you is one phone call, right?
Sure.
On that phone call, you said something to me that I really haven't stopped thinking about since. You said about 3 years ago, you were told that you were going to die. You were diagnosed with something, and I'm not going to get into that now. We'll get into that later. But how did your life change when you heard those words?
I've been reflecting on this all morning, right? How did my life change specifically? It's kind of hard to answer. I would say, I don't know that much changed. I would say I discovered a lot about myself. If that makes sense?
Yeah.
More so that who I am as a person, and not to compliment myself or whatever, I could say I had more grace than I thought, and I've been a little more relentless than I ever thought I was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Speaking of relentless,
right.
You were on the Relentless Project podcast with Ish Lopez.
I was.
And when you asked me if you could be a guest, which I appreciate you asking me because a lot of people don't ask if they can be a guest. I have to go fishing for guests. So when someone comes to me and says, hey, can I be on your show? I get really excited. And if you want to be on the show, send me an email, barbellsandbourbonpodcast@gmail.com. I'd love to have you. So yeah, you reached out to me, and this is a scary world we live in. So I reached out to Ish and said, hey, Brian reached out to me. Is he cool? Like, is this like
is he gonna
legit?
Come in and rob me?
Right.
And
he had nothing but good things to say about you.
That's awesome.
He said
That's surprising, but awesome.
He said he's a great dude. And he actually said, you'd be a great fit for this show because you have a very deep story. And the structure of this show is really going to pull that out. So I'm excited. If that's a spoiler alert, if I've ever heard one, it is. But I want to start with your childhood, Brian. You know, you said that, 3 years ago you were dropped a bomb, which, a lot of people don't hear those words ever. If you've been told you're going to die, comment below. I heard those words in a different sense.
Okay.
I was told that I shouldn't be alive less than a year ago.
Wow.
And my life changed a lot hearing those words. Probably similar to you. Like hearing you're going to die means you have an expiration date, which is who knows how long, but typically not that long. And being told that you shouldn't be alive, you start to not take things for granted anymore. It's probably similar, right?
It is. I think so.
Yeah.
For sure, gratefulness, gratitude comes to mind when you're told you're going to die. And I know that sounds strange to people. Being told you would have died.
Yeah.
Right,
yeah.
Is a lot of gratitude. I can relate to that as well.
Now, I know this is like a morbid start, but we are all going to die. We all have an expiration date.
Yeah.
A lot of us don't know what that date is going to be. but we should all be living like our last day on earth is tomorrow. Right?
Agreed.
Because it could be.
It absolutely could be. Yeah.
And a lot of us take way too many things for granted.
Yeah.
We are judgmental. We are rude. We are, all of these things that when you leave this planet, we'll probably regret.
Yeah.
And legacy comes to mind.
Yes.
I want to be remembered for what I did for the society, not for what I had or who I am, but who did I help? Who's going to remember me? Who did I inspire? Who did I, whatever.
I think that's the only way to have legacy.
Yeah.
Right? Is if you do some great thing that doesn't inspire others, nobody's going to be talking about you.
Right.
It's that that teacher or whoever that you go, man, what happened to Mr. Kowalski? Or, that guy was there. And it's not until you're 50 or 45 or whatever that you start to think about those things.
Yeah.
Right? Because, so I think you're on a good path with the podcast, having a good legacy,
I hope so.
Yeah.
And you're the 67th guest.
That's right.
Let's go.
Shout out. It's
Yeah.
number 67. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I'll take it.
So, and I tell you, every single guest that sits in that seat changes my life. And, some for the good, some for the bad, but it's opened my eyes to so many different aspects of life, and it's humbled me, and it's made me appreciate things, and it's made me not be so judgmental because, we're all first impression based.
Right.
Right. Look at this guy, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Or look at this girl, she's this and that.
Yeah.
But you sit down and give them a chance to talk about their life.
It's
And
different. You go, look at these two meatheads. And
Right.
you go,
Right.
oh, that idiot's going to
Yeah.
be mad at me for where I park in the Sheets parking lot or whatever. And
Exactly.
it turns out Sean's the nicest guy ever.
I've heard
Yeah.
it. I've heard it all.
Yeah.
We're all judged for something, but okay, enough morbid negativity. Not that it's really negative, but it's just real. I want to get back to your childhood and how your life sort of started. That's our
Yeah.
foundation, right?
Yeah.
That's where everything begins. Can you tell me where you grew up?
Erie, PA. Yeah, probably a mile from where Ish grew up, but I didn't know Ish. We're different ages.
Yeah.
We're 20 years apart in age, and but literally over a bridge. He grew up on one side of a bridge. I grew up on the other, and we could have walked to each other's houses.
That's wild.
So other people don't know where Ish lives, I guess. But east side of Erie, if you're familiar with Erie, the east side's not the best part of town to live in. It's not the worst place to be ever. It's not Crenshaw in LA or something like that, but it's for a 10-year-old roaming the streets on their own, going to the store. It's not fun, But I had good parents, that kind of thing. They did their best. They had flaws, but and there's 3 guys wanting to beat you up, and your dad goes, "What do you mean? Go out there and fight them?" And you're like, "They're 3, they're 15, I'm 10."
Yeah.
Those kind of things, but we got through it. Yeah.
What types of experiences did you have in that? You said it wasn't the best town. Like, what types of things did you experience at a young age?
I think I don't know if it's the era or if it was the town, but it was a lot of negative. Adults were pretty negative. Adults, it was you'd be seen and not heard. And if you had ideas on something, you'd be really excited. You go to a teacher and say, "Hey, I'm really excited about this project. I'm going to do this, this, and this." And in some way, you'd get shut down with, "Well, that's stupid. That's not the assignment." And they didn't see that spark in you. So, most of my life, at least for me, it was the, I like to call it like the Holden Caulfield effect. If you've ever read Catcher in the Rye, where it's kind of this, where you realize everybody's the same, right? Everybody is that person where they're kind of irritated with society at times, and they go, "Nobody understands me, and I'm this solo person on this planet, and I'm the only one." And then if you read that book, Catcher in the Rye, you realize this speaks to so many people because this is how everyone feels,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it was kind of, that's how I say it was negative. I couldn't wait to leave.
Okay. How was your relationship with your parents? Were you close? Like,
Yeah, I mean, we were good, right? My dad was a hardworking guy, had a drain cleaning business, and he worked a lot. But you know, he was at my baseball games, those kind of things. Every once in a while, I look over, and he wasn't there in the beginning, but some way throughout the game,
He'd show up.
He was a good guy.
Yeah.
He was pretty angry. You know, like it just like it wasn't abusive or anything like that, but he just seemed like he was always in a bad mood. You know, probably because he's working all day. He's trying to figure out how to pay the bills and those kind of things. And then, my mom was a stay-at-home mom most of my life and took care of things. Probably a normal lower middle class childhood.
Okay.
You know,
I think
I don't,
some of that's generational, though.
it is.
You're
yeah.
what? You're what, 50-ish?
51.
51. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think that generation of your parents, it was that old-fashioned, the man went to work,
Yeah.
the woman stayed home.
Yeah.
He was upset if there wasn't dinner on the table. You know, like,
yeah.
is that how it was?
It was
Okay.
exactly that. Or it was why's your bike in the driveway? And it's like, why are you so angry about it? I'll go get it. What do you, it was that kind of thing. But, looking at it now, being a working person now, you go, come on, man, can you do this one thing? I did this all day. Now, your bike's left out. You didn't feed the dog. I get it now. I think it could have been handled differently, but we're all human.
Were you afraid of your dad?
I was afraid of my dad. My brother has like a perspective on it where he would try to act like I wasn't. There was a time my brother and I were fighting in our room, and my mother goes, don't you hear them in there? Aren't you going to do anything about it? And he like kind of lost it, goes in there, and he, spanks my brother a couple of times. And I grabbed the post of the bed and I pulled myself under the bed and I was hiding. And then he eventually got me out. And my brother goes, why do you do that? And I don't remember saying this. And I was like, fuck him. That's why.
Wow.
And not to my dad, obviously, but my brother tells that story over and over. Like I said, I don't remember it, but I had that like anti-establishment, like it felt unjust to me. So it was like, whatever's gonna come is gonna come if it was an injustice, I think. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I'm guessing your mom didn't really stand up for you guys because, I mean, I don't want to make assumptions here, Brian.
Yeah, yeah.
Was she afraid of your dad too?
No,
Like to step
no,
in the way?
He
Okay.
wasn't. My dad was a big guy.
I'm not saying he was abusive. I'm not trying to say that.
He
no.
really isn't. I just want to,
Yeah.
because especially in public,
Oh my gosh, yeah.
he wasn't. It was the time. It was like, I could probably count on one hand how many times I was hit or shoved into a wall, and I probably deserved it. That kind of thing. Especially in that era, I know. We were actually the house that our friends went to when things were going wrong.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I'd have friends that would say, I had a good friend that would say, man, your dad's mean. He's mad. He's angry, because he would go, you're not going here. Hey, we're going to go to ride our bikes to the dock at 11 years old. And my dad would go, you're not doing that. Right. And he'd yell about it and give us a lecture. And he would say, your dad's mean. And as an adult, he came to my dad. They were at a funeral or something. And he went up to my dad and he said, he goes, man, I think you were the only adult that cared about me.
Wow.
Like it was this, he recognized eventually being a kid that was able to do whatever he wanted. And because nobody cared.
Yeah.
At least that's how he felt, right? Go to the dock at 11 and
Be reckless. Yeah.
Go stay out till midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning, wherever, and do whatever you want. But then as he was an adult, he started to realize that, well, nobody really gave a shit what I did,
Isn't it funny how you look at things differently? As a kid, you feel like you're being controlled, being told what to do, or you have no freedom.
Yeah.
And then as an adult, you're like, oh, they were just trying to protect me. Or
Yeah.
they were just trying to give you some structure. Or they were just trying to keep me responsible.
Absolutely. And to answer your question, I would say it's more my dad was afraid of my mom. I mean, it wasn't,
Nice.
I wouldn't say he was afraid of her, but it was, he just didn't want to hear it, My mom had to deal with us out there. And look, we were rough kids. I had an older brother, older sister. My sister like locked herself in a room because all the shenanigans that were going on with my brother and I. And, we were just brothers fighting all the time.
Yeah.
And so yeah, my mom would let it fly on my dad when he got home from work. And then it was that kind of thing. My mom would have the spoon out and and that didn't work. And so my dad had to handle it. And I think he was just more, that's kind of how their relationship was. Like, will you fix this? So I think they were a pretty good team when it came to, I guess, putting us in line when we needed to be put in line.
Sounds like a good dynamic to me.
Yeah.
Now, I hope this doesn't get me flagged, but
Yeah.
I think there needs to be more wooden spoons in this society.
Yeah.
We've become way too soft. And kids are assholes these days.
They are,
and they get away with, I don't want to say all kids, but
Right.
kids mainly get away with anything.
Yeah.
I think the parents are afraid of the kids more now than vice versa.
I think they are too. I think, so I coach Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I don't coach kids on purpose. I don't care for it. I'll fill in sometimes and help. But it's not even the little kids so much, but it's these parents go to bat for their kids so much, which I think is in a way admirable, but I think it's over the top. And what I've noticed is I have a lot of good things to say about this generation as far as businesses, understanding what needs to be done and how to even run a business and those kind of things. But when it comes to, I think if you're 22 and you're having an issue with a rental car company and kids' parents are calling and going, give my son his money back.
Yeah.
And you go, why isn't your 22-year-old son handling
Yeah.
this? Maybe coach him and let him handle it.
They're an
That's
adult.
kinda what
They
I
can
see.
handle their own business.
Yeah. Like parents come in to go to bat for adults, what I would consider an adult, or what I think you would consider an adult.
Yeah. So I can actually completely relate to that. My son turned 20 in April.
Oh, okay.
So he's an adult.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say I just kicked him out of the nest and said,
Sure.
You're an adult now, take care of it yourself. I would help him make the phone calls if his car broke down, or bail him out and get him a rental car if his car broke down, right? But I slowly stopped doing that. And I'm like, call so-and-so.
Yeah.
Make an appointment for so-and-so. Like, and now he just does it. He doesn't say, Dad, this and that happened. He doesn't even ask me. He'll just say, Dad, I made an appointment here. Or Dad, I called here and this is the problem with whatever. I'm not just
Nice.
talking about cars, but he's
but
starting
it's a
to
good
be able to
example.
just do it.
Yeah.
And I just gradually started kind of pulling back.
That's great.
You know what I mean?
I think that does a world of good,
It's worked.
Yeah.
Look, as a parent, we don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. We're not given a handbook on how to handle every situation. We're just doing the best we can as parents. So, I mean, anyways.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
that's kind of my example of that.
We're of the same mind there. I think for me it was military, which is, I left Erie at 18. And in military, you're kind of halfway in, halfway out, right? You're not on your own completely. You kind of have everything set up for you. Your housing is set up for you. You're told where to be, when to be there. But through that, the leaders in the military, one of the things they do for you is, in a very abusive way, by the way, is help you with your problems, right? Because when you don't pay a bill and you're in the military and you're in a military town, some guy leaves a restaurant and he didn't pay his bill, they call the command. And they go, hey, one of your guys was in here, and they call him on the carpet and they go, you dummy, and here's what you're going to do now. Now you're going to go to here. You're going to pay this. Here's why you're stupid. Here's why this is never going to work for you. And now we're going to punish you. And you get that brutal honesty, and they're not your mom. They're not seeing it your way. They don't care. They know that they got a phone call and they're going to deal with it, So whether it was you bought a car and it was a high interest rate, you could get charges for that.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people don't know that kind of thing. So they kind of
Interesting.
looked out for you, but they also punished you severely for making mistakes like that.
So you spoke into the microphone very directly in a very abusive way.
Yeah.
Do you feel very strongly about certain things about the military, like negatively, or?
No, I mean, no, I don't have an axe to grind. The military is what it is, right?
Sure.
They're kind of not there to coddle you and baby
No,
you,
right.
The military was, we talked about this briefly on the phone. I was in for 4 years. It changed my life in every aspect. I don't know what kind of person I would be if I hadn't done what I'd done in the military. And it's down to how I fold my clothes and how I respond to setting up something like this. I got to make sure I get a hold of Sean before he gets a hold of me. It's this week. Sean, what do you need from me? Yeah. How do you want to set up? Do you have any, I need notes. Yeah. What do I need?
Preparation.
And I want to make sure I'm going to want to put myself in your shoes and go, well, what would I need if I was him? What would make it easy on me if I was him? He's given me a platform.
Interesting.
So how can I return that favor? So those kind of things in my mind came from the military. So it gave me all these great things, but let's be honest. I mean, the guy yelling and screaming at you in boot camp, and I'm saying abusive kind of jokingly, but it's a rough place. So I was in a special operations capable unit. I was in a raid company. It was in 2nd Battalion, 5th Marines, Fox Company, and we're called Black Hearts, and I was a scout swimmer, right? It's a rough, you're around gunfighters. It's a rough place. So it's not, when I first got dropped to the unit, it was like when Andy Dufresne walks into Shawshank. There's guys catcalling you telling you they're going to rape you, telling you, and these are like, you come out of boot camp and people have fresh pressed camis and ironed, everybody's squared away looking. These guys look like a mob. They dirty, muddy boots. It's a legit organization. And among them, they may laugh at this, but there's no doubt about it. Like this is what they're trained to do, right? They're trained to be killers in a sense. And they have to be prepared for that, and they're going to treat you how somebody that's their job, how a gunfighter would treat someone.
It makes sense when you explain it.
Yeah.
On the surface, you see all these military movies.
Yeah.
And all these, drill instructors and just up in the face yelling this and that. I mean, it's probably not very far from reality, right?
Well, boot camp, right?
Yeah.
Boot camp's exactly what you see in the movies, right? Full Metal Jacket, prime example. As you get to your unit, you go to your schools, it's a little bit like that, but a little less like that. And then when you get to your unit, I was in counterterrorism. My first job was in counterterrorism, and you have to have a Category 1 clearance. So you have to have no charges ever in your life. No
runs with the law,
weed,
nothing.
You've never done, you're clean, prim, proper. These are all the suburban kids, right? The upper middle class suburban kids that joined the Marines, and you go from that unit, which is rough in its own way, right? But it's what you think of as the Marine Corps. It's pressed camis. Hey, how come your socks are, out of line? Those kind of things, right?
Wow.
Then you go to what's called the fleet, which for me was 2-5. It's like Fleet Marine Force, where like the people you think of when you think of Marines. And you get to this unit, and their job is so hectic and so important. And you got San Jose gang members that join the Marines to get out of a gang, or to get out and learn how to be better at crime, right? How to learn tactics, how to learn that. I could probably count on one hand how many guys like that there was. You have your suburban kids, and then I had a really good friend that we were talking about like childhood stories, and he's telling this story about, like when your parents are nodding off on heroin, and he's like, you know what I mean? And I'm like, no.
Wow.
No, I have no idea what you mean. And I could see in his eyes, he's like, wait, what? Like you've never seen anybody on heroin? He has no idea. A guy from Houston, Texas. So you have these guys that Marines have shaped their life in some way. That guy, by the way, ended up being a career Marine. He's a great dad. He's got a nice life. He's got a great business. And, you meet these different kind of people, and it's a rougher place because you have guys from rougher environments. And that's kind of what the Marine Corps wants. Those are the guys that are relentless, and they can make it happen. And they got into that unit because of that.
So there's a lot of different whys to join the military.
Yeah.
Like you just gave a few examples.
Yes.
What was your why?
Oh, My why at the time was one, I always wanted to be that guy charging the beach, right? When I was a little kid, I was watching like military movies, and when I went to the recruiting station, I walked in and I said, "Who are the guys storming? I want to be a Marine." They said, "Well, what job do you want to do?" And I said, "Well, who are the guys that are storming the beach, right? Like, who are those guys with the rifles?" They said, "Well, that's the infantry." I said, "That's what I want to do, right?"
So you were completely accepting that you could lose your life doing this.
Yeah, and wanting it, right? Not wanting to lose my life, but I wanted to be that guy, right? And then now, in my 40s, I on and off have gone to therapy, right? I'm in my therapist's office, and it comes out as we're speaking, and she asked me a question. It was about jujitsu or something like that, and I said, you know, I would like felt unsafe as a kid, right? I grew up in a kind of tough neighborhood, somewhat tough, at least for a 10-year-old kid, it was tough. And I think I was running from that. And I wanted to be that guy. I was bullied. I know you were bullied.
Yeah.
And it didn't click for me until my 40s that I go, oh, I want that to never happen to me again, right? I want to be unbullyable. So I wanted, my first thought of that was join the Marines and be this guy, be this killer, be this gunfighter, right? Nobody's going to mess with that guy. And there was this hole. So I did that, accomplished that, and it still didn't fill the hole, right? So then you start lifting weights. Then I boxed when I was in the Marines. I'll learn how to box. And I still, for years, just kept trying to fill that hole and got a lot of good out of it. Right?
Sure.
Yeah. What was it for you? I mean, is that how you feel about, like, you're a big guy, you lift weights, you're a coach?
Oh, yeah. It was absolutely to not be a target anymore.
Yeah.
100%.
Did you know that when you started, that's why you were doing it?
That is why I started.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be messed with anymore, and I figured, what's the solution? Be bigger.
Right.
Be scarier.
Be tougher.
Be stronger.
Yeah.
Because look, I am the gentlest giant on the planet.
Yeah.
The way I look is not at all the person I am.
Yeah.
So I've never been in a fight in my entire life.
Wow. Yeah.
100% honest. Like, never. I mean,
That's great.
high school, a pseudo fight, but that doesn't even
Scuffles.
count. Yeah.
Yeah.
But, I don't look for trouble. I avoid confrontation like the plague.
Yes.
I hate arguments. I hate when people are upset at me. I don't want to say I'm a pushover, but I'm a people pleaser. I'll
Yeah.
do whatever it takes to make you come back onto my side.
Yeah.
That fuse is getting shorter the older I get.
Yes.
The more experiences that you have, I think, harden you. Over the last few months, I've had a lot of really annoying things happen to me, and I'm kind of stepping out of that people-pleasing personality. I'm starting to be a little bit more forward, assertive, not give a shit what people think,
Yeah.
yelling at people, cursing at people, like, to get my way.
Yeah.
And that was never me.
Right.
And I'm like, who is this new person? you know?
Yeah.
And it's scary that I'm changing, but it feels good in a way.
Yeah.
But I don't want to like get too far down that road either, where I'm an asshole all the time.
Sure. Right.
So
Yeah.
I don't know. I just rambled. I don't know if I answered your question, but
you did
Yeah.
absolutely answer me, and I can relate to that. So I'm a few years older than you, and probably right around the same age you are now. You're 46.
46.
Right at the same age you are now is when I went through exactly what you're going through, and what I discovered was that people liked me more once I started to advocate for myself. I would be in a restaurant and I was a bartender, so I like respect. I'm going to leave you a big tip. I'm going to try to make your life easy. I clean all the stuff off the table. I put it in a pile on my plate. I do all this stuff. And especially nowadays, it seems like since COVID with all the hero stuff, it's kind of like a lot more servers are rude to you.
Mm-hmm.
And I've started to go, is there a problem? Is there, where I never would have done that. I would have been sitting there going, what did I do to make them so upset? And how can I make it up to them? And I started to go, you know what? I'm not doing this anymore.
Yeah.
Then tell me if I did something. If I'm being rude to you, please tell me. You know, and I've had run-ins, nothing, not a lot,
Yeah.
right? And I went through this. I mentioned therapy, and this is getting too like soft, but I think it's important because I didn't understand what it meant. People would say, "You have to love yourself." I didn't know what that meant. I mean, I kind of know what it means, but I'm like, how? What does that look like, right? And what I started to realize is me advocating for myself over someone else, in the way of a waiter's rude to me. And then I say, no, listen, is there a problem? And I'm professional about it. I'm calm. I don't yell at them. But I go, is there an issue? Usually they'll snap back and they'll go, oh, no, everything's fine. And they'll realize I was kind of being a jerk,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I give them an out where I'm still kind about it, but I realize that's loving yourself. Why are they more important than me that I don't want them to? I'll be so uncomfortable so a stranger's not uncomfortable. And once I started doing that, I'm still working on it, by the way, but that helped me tremendously. So I applaud you for that. I think it's more, sometimes you got to go, fuck you, man.
Yes.
If it's having the confidence in, I know I didn't do anything here.
Yeah.
And if I did, you need to just communicate that to me. I'll be happy to apologize. You know.
I see that the most in drive-throughs. Let's talk about drive-throughs for 1 second.
Yeah.
Every single time I go through a drive-through, and I'm going to call out the drive-throughs in the area because I don't give a shit. Dairy Queen, Burger King, Arby's, all of those in Plum, PA, you guys suck.
Yeah. It's about terrible.
You're bothering them by pulling up to that speaker. Instantly, you get that feeling that you've bothered them because they have to do their job now.
And then now you feel bad because you're like,
I used to.
Initially, yeah.
But you ask, okay, can I get a blah, blah, blah? Anything else? It's almost like they're telling you that you don't want anything else. Like you're done.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I also want to, anything else? No, I also need, and then just the other day, I'm like, don't ask me that again because there's some more stuff coming.
I have a long list here, man. Yeah,
Like, just stop.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, okay. Like they give you an attitude back.
It starts there though, right? I mean, it's for you. It starts because I'm the same way. I go with my order ready in my head. I'm prepared. I go, I'm going to know exactly what I want. I'm going to list it out to you very quickly. And most of it's because most of my life I felt bad, like I was putting them out. It's like, no, you can wait a minute.
Yeah.
I'm new to it. I'm on board with you, by the way. You mentioned about tipping, like at Starbucks. Mm-hmm. And I'm more Chipotle. I do Chipotle all the time. And you mentioned that they don't get the tips. And that let me off the hook because I felt guilty about it for so long. And I would have no issue tipping if I could tip after I saw my order.
Yeah.
Because I'd be missing 3 things off my Chipotle order. And I'm like, I left you $3 and I don't even have my order. And you don't care. You're like, oh, I'm out of it.
That's
I'm
another
like,
thing.
Can you go, no, give me 5 minutes and we'll make some more if you want to wait 5 minutes or if you want, I'm good with that.
Right. The accuracy of, I hate to say fast food, but I mean, nothing is ever right.
Yeah.
Like I'm not trying to insult. How hard is it?
Right.
Seriously, to put 4 things together into a bag and not forget one of them. Like, really.
And how come Chick-fil-A can do it?
Every time.
Yeah, it's training. I see it because coming from, like I said, I was a bartender and I would occasionally wait tables during that time, all those kind of things. I have tremendous respect for that. And to do it in fast food, and I've seen what people deal with, but I feel like COVID and the Karen videos let everybody off the hook. And sometimes if you really watch like the Karen videos and you listen to what they're saying, you go, oh, this is missing half the video. This woman tried to be nice. She just wants her money back. They won't give her money back. And she's now
she's turned on the Karen mode.
And they turned on the camera and they go, look at this Karen.
Right.
And you go, well, yeah, but I paid for food that I didn't get.
Yeah.
Can I please just have my money back?
Yeah.
And if you just label it Karen, you go, I hate that term.
I know.
Yeah, because now I can't complain at all. Yeah.
Oh man, did we go off on a tangent?
Well, I think
But
it's important.
it
It's a
is.
service to the world to know that. Yeah.
Okay. Let's get back on track. Military, you did it to sort of harden yourself.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, and get away, right?
Right.
You know?
Did it work?
No. Because it was an empty, you're shoveling into an empty hole, right? I mean, it worked. I'm proud of what I did. I couldn't wait for I was counting down the days until I got out. Had a best friend that still my best friend, lives in Chicago, Mike Villarreal, shout out. We used to sit on a fire escape like late at night after ops, and we were at Coronado Island for a while, and we'd sit and eat vending machine food and drink Coke and go, man, this place sucks. I mean, because it's brutal. I mean, you get little sleep. It's everything it's supposed to be. It's everything you signed up for. Don't get me wrong. I'm proud of everything I did. I'm realizing how few people have done the things I've done, and why that's important to me, and how I feel about me. But the two happiest days of my life were me graduating from boot camp and getting the title Marine, and the most happiest day was getting out and feeling that freedom of, you're not under somebody's thumb anymore.
Yeah. I had a guest pretty early on. He was one of my probably first dozen guests, Nate Walters. He was in the military as well, I think Army. And he didn't have really much anything good to say about it.
Yeah, yeah.
It changed his life for the worse.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to divulge any details. You can watch the episode yourself.
Yeah, there you go. There's a plug.
But I mean,
it's brutal things happen. And don't get me wrong. And I just met a lady. She was a female Marine in the 80s. And I just directly said to her, I go, "You're tough. That's tough." I was like, that's brutal. Be a female in the 80s in the Marine Corps. I was in the 90s, and they were given no respect. No, just zero respect. So in the 80s, there was the most awful things were happening in the military. And it was in the news and all those kind of things. And they've gone a long way to clean it up.
Sure.
But there's people that have had horrible, horrible experiences.
Don't be scared if you want to serve.
Yeah, but this isn't
to scare you, but yeah, I mean, it's like with anything else. Everybody has a different experience
but
with everything.
But know the truth, right? And it's not always the best option, right?
Yeah. What did you do out of the military? What was your next move?
Bartender. I had this thought I was going to go to law school. I didn't have a college degree at the time. I would have had to go to college, go to law school. So I took a job as a bartender because I felt like I could make really good money, and I'd work nights, and I'd keep my days free.
How was that?
Bartending?
From military to bartending. That's an interesting shift.
It was cool. It was a high-end hotel, right? It was so I made really good money. It was a lot of like business travelers on an expense account. They'd max out the tip and they'd throw you another 20.
Nice.
So on Monday night I'd make $100 in 1996. Like $200-300 on a Friday, that kind of thing. So I had a drawer full of I had a roommate, my cousin, used to go. He would get upset because he'd work all week. I'd work like 30 hours, and I had a drawer full of cash. And I go, I got to go to the bank and deposit money.
He has none to deposit.
It was probably $400, right? It wasn't, but to us at the time, being 22,
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a good transition. And I met the right people. I went through. That's where I decided to get into sales. Was some of the guys I met, and they go, "You're gonna go to school for 7 years." Then I talked to a guy who was an attorney, and I was like, "Man, you make great money though, right?" And this guy goes, "I made $28,000 a year." I go, 7 years of school. I didn't know an attorney existed that made 28 grand. And I was like, "How does that?" He worked for like the county, Erie County or something. And he was like, "If you want to do it, but
don't
there's
do it
no
for the
guarantee."
money.
Yeah, you don't automatically make $500,000 a year being an attorney. Yeah.
So as a bartender, I'm sure you have to listen to a lot of stories.
Yeah.
Right? you're kind of like me. You're kind of like a podcaster as a bartender,
exactly,
right?
right?
You're
Yeah.
you're an ear for people to just kind of dump on you about things.
Yeah.
What are some of the craziest bartender stories or conversations you think you had?
I don't
Anything?
I don't recall exact stories that hit me, but it would be like some of them were like women being hit on by guys they didn't want to get hit on. They're at the bar and there's a guy and them kind of like subtly picking up on, hey, this person needs help. So it's like those are the things that I really remember. There was these like known mobsters that came in there that I got to know really well, and especially it being a bar, I was done at like midnight, 1 o'clock, because it was a hotel bar a little earlier, and these guys had a bar that you could. They go, listen, come by. We lock the door at 2, but you park your car across the street, and we'd sit in there till 5 a.m. Right? I heard amazing stories from them, and now there's books out. I don't want to mention the names,
No,
in case, but there's
I wouldn't
literally
either.
books with stories that I heard live. About there was a story about Frank Sinatra Jr. Somebody throwing a steak at him. A guy told me, he's like, I got mad at him. He said his steak was too big. We gave him the biggest steak we had, and he goes, "That's too big. I can't eat that." And the restaurateur threw it at him. Was like, or got him another one, threw it at him because he was mad. Like, why are you're being mean to the waitress, that kind of thing. And then he said, I thought I was going to get killed that night. That kind of thing, like stories like that. So that was interesting.
I guess it's good to be in with the mob.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. I had a manager that her husband was in prison. I'm trying to save other people's story and let them tell their own story. But she had a loved one that was in prison over that kind of stuff, right? She pulled me aside and she said, "Hey, I see you get friendly with these guys." And she said, "I want you to know, if they ask you to do anything, don't do it." And it's not the TV version that you think, don't do it because you're going to get in with the wrong crowd. It's no. When something happens in the cops, they'll actually snitch on you because you're not one of them. They'll get you to do it. That way, if something happens, they go, "It wasn't us. It was him."
You're the rat.
You're going to get ratted out.
Yeah.
And you think that they have this like Bible against snitching, and it's no, on each other. They're using you as bait, right? So like things like that were fascinating to me. So I knew these guys, but I was never asked to do anything. You know what I mean? But I think they kind of knew. I think this lady looked out for me quite a bit and was like, she was a little in your face. She didn't care. She would tell him, "You stay away from him. He's a good guy." That kind of thing.
Well, if there's some value that we've never shared before on this show, if you're going to get in with the mob,
Right. Is it even exist right anymore? Is there like?
don't be a snitch.
Yeah, don't be a snitch. Yeah.
Oh man, that's
Yeah.
funny.
If you're trying to figure out who the sucker is, it's probably you. It's that kind of.
So after bartending,
Yeah.
what was your next path?
So I bartend. I kind of fall into office furniture, selling commercial office furniture at a place in Erie, Santa Office Supply. I start working there, and it was good. I saw how you could make good money in it, but Erie was a tough town to make. There's not a lot of big projects going on, right? It's mostly shops, things like that. They don't use a lot of furniture. So my next move was I moved to Pittsburgh, and I
Okay.
took a job with, if you've ever been to the waterfront, Continental office. They were the developers of the waterfront. Well, they had an interiors division. So I got moved down here by them in 2000. So they
Okay.
were opening an office here, and I got hired and started working in office furniture. Been in it ever since.
So you said earlier you thought maybe you'd get into sales or you might be good at sales. Why did you think that? What
Yeah.
made that kind of a path that you wanted to try and pursue?
There were these guys that came in the bar, and they would always say it's their choir practice. They would tell their wives they had choir practice. It was just these older guys, 2 or 3 guys, and they owned a carpet store. And they would actively, this guy would tell me all the time, he goes, "Man, why don't you come sell carpet? Like, you'd be good at it. This is good. What, are you going to be a bartender? You're going to work nights all the time. You're exposed to drinking. You don't need this. You got to grow up, right? So I ended up selling carpet, not for him. So I interviewed with him. He was like, you got the job. I ended up interviewing somewhere else. I was like, I may as well check the lay of the land. And I ended up working for another company, was there a couple of years, just kind of, bounce around. First few jobs, you bounce to the next opportunity kind of thing.
Okay.
But it was, this guy convinced me that this is what you need to be doing. You need to be in sales.
What makes a good salesperson, Brian?
Being a good listener, or like actually hearing and taking in what somebody's saying. If you had asked me that back then, I'd have a different answer. But being a consultant, I think of myself as a consultant, not a salesperson.
You're a problem solver, right?
Exactly.
Someone who needs something obviously has a problem, and you're there to solve it with whatever carpet, office furniture, a car, you name it.
Yes.
Right?
And the listening part is like, I need to actually figure out what their problem is. And I know if I can solve that problem. Usually mine is sound. There's too much sound in my office. I got 4 people on the phone at once. That's a big one. Or I have 50 people in this space. I need to be able to fit 65 and I'm already at capacity. How do I do that? And then I figure out how to do that. So it's that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But there's also a problem behind the problem. There's always, as you're talking and you go, well, you're at kind of capacity, and there's usually the solutions in what they're explaining to you, right? And you got to kind of find that. And it's those details, if you're in a highly competitive situation, that your price is not going to be the first thing. It's you solving their problem is going to be the first thing.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think if you're able to solve the problem, I don't think price really is much of an option.
Right. Especially in the business world, right?
Yeah.
Because they may view it as, sometimes you're in these business situations where, let's say a bank starts a new loan program. Well, behind the scenes, whether you realize it or not, they're leasing an entire new floor of their building. They're going to set up an entire space that's dedicated to this one loan product. They're going to outfit that space. They're going to put 400 people in it. They're going to do all these things. They view it as, every day this isn't up and running, I'm losing money. So when you say, well, 400 people, that's going to be $1.4 million, they go, I don't care. Just get it. How quick can you get it done?
Yeah.
I don't care if it's 1.4, 1.6, 1.7. How quickly can you get it done? And are you the right person to get this done? Because if you don't deliver on time, I'm losing money every day that this isn't up and running, right? So I'm not efficient. I'm not. So that makes it way easier for a business, because when our truck is down and I need to get it repaired because I'm billing for that truck every day, it's literally, I've been overcharged. I don't know how many times. But I go, I have to have my truck back. When can you get it done? I've paid 30% more because I got it back a week sooner,
Yeah. So you're single, right?
Yeah, I date. I'm dating someone.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm not married. I live alone.
Okay. And you said you have a dog.
I do.
That's your child.
Yeah. It's I don't know that she sees it that way, right? She kind of hates me. We talked about this, but she's a 12-pound Chihuahua. And it's my second Chihuahua, actually. And I used to have this big 100-pound lab named Lola. And I found a Chihuahua in the street one day. And I took it home and had every intention, I'm going to find this dog a home. I'm just going to get him off the street. And I didn't like the dog. The dog bullied the lab. Like, I didn't know the personalities of little dogs, right? And she bullied the lab so much and was like kind of the king of the castle, or he was. And Lola died. I ended up with this dog, had this dog for dog just died 3 years ago at 18. So now in the last year, I rescued another Chihuahua. I've learned to love Chihuahuas.
18.
Yeah,
well, smaller
18.
dogs live longer.
They do,
right?
Yeah.
That's what I've heard anyway.
Yeah, and they're dogs, like certain breeds. I don't know how yours are, but they behave like a bigger dog. You have this idea that they're so timid and they'll bully you out of your food.
Yeah.
They have no.
They're manipulators.
They're just as fun as big dogs.
Yeah. I'm going to ask you a question. Don't take it the wrong way.
Yeah.
You're 51
Yeah.
and you're still not married.
Right.
Was that on purpose? Are you trying to find someone to marry? Like, tell me about your romantic life.
Yeah.
If you want to.
Yeah. I think I've been divorced for 11 years.
Oh, you were married.
So I was married, and it just didn't go well, right? I made a lot of mistakes, and mainly in the person that I married, like is from my perspective. I know she has a different perspective, but it was a bad situation. I did the right thing by leaving, we went through a divorce and all the things that come with that. It wasn't like I didn't leave in the middle of like a Bruce Springsteen song.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Nothing like that. I have 2 stepsons, had. That's a rough, they were older when I left. And it's a heartbreaking kind of thing. And I know that you're a stepdad, right? It's what rights do you have? You know what I mean? Like you can text, and if they don't text you back, what do you do? It was pretty rough is what I'm getting at. There was a lot of, I'm not the first guy to go through that, sure. But it was tough. There was a lot of stuff with my business involved where I had partners and my partners left the business and there was money issues and all those kind of things. I kind of had to rebuild my life. So number one, I didn't want to bring someone else into my life permanently until I had solid footing. In like 3 to 5 years, I had solid footing again. I was able to make back my money. I was able to, rebuild the business. And then in the last like 3 or 4 years, it's actually been flourishing, right? So I'm right where I need to be. I don't know. I think at some point you start to like unknowingly sabotage relationships, right? It's hard to go, I'm a way better partner than I ever was when I was younger, now. And, therapy and just learning and kind of starting to see things. You end up with this, I'm sure you at 46, you end up with this vision of, no, this is actually what they want. Yep. They're telling me this, but this is the big picture, right? Yep. And at 33, you don't have that vision.
So you got married at 33?
I got married at 33, yeah.
Okay.
Divorced at 40, yeah.
So 33 is not young or not old to get married. I think you're fairly mature in life to know what you want, right?
Yeah.
But you said you picked the wrong partner.
I did, yeah.
You don't have to get into detail.
Sure.
But did you learn things about her the longer you were together that you didn't realize off the bat?
No, I grew more confidence. I grew more confidence in, when you grow up, and I don't know if it's the time frame or, like the era that we grew up, but you grow up with your parents and everybody above you saying, my teacher yelled at me, right? Well, she didn't just yell at you. What did you do, right? Yeah. So we grow up learning, well, people don't just do that to you, Sean. You must have done something. And then you end up being a people pleaser, right? So I had that idea of if I came home and my wife was upset, well, what did I do? I must have done. You wouldn't be this upset if I didn't do anything. So as the years went on, I started to kind of see like, I didn't do anything. This isn't, or we're arguing about this thing and this isn't, I feel what I'm doing is reasonable. You may not like it, but it's reasonable and it's my place and I'm allowed to do it. You shouldn't have an issue with doing it, right? Yeah. There's going to be things that your partner does that you may not love, but you go, this is who I am and this is what I do. I don't mean getting phone numbers from the bar,
sure.
Right? But you like going to the gym. So if your partner is saying, hey, I think you spend too much time at the gym. Okay, well, what does that mean?
Yeah, right.
What have I missed things for the kid, important things? What have I done? And this is actually very important to me. It's something I need in my life to be a sane person. And it's very important to me. And this isn't different from when we got together. So I gained more confidence in those conversations. And then I began to see what was being asked of me as unreasonable. So just constant conflict. And I didn't feel like it was good for either one of us. And it was like, well, we're just different people. Let's just part ways.
How scary was it to make that decision? Did you feel like your life was going to be a living hell because you were trying to get out of that?
I did. So that's when I really started going to therapy. So I knew it was going to be a problem. So when I made the decision in my head, I immediately made an appointment with a therapist. And I said, I need to help with confidence. I need to be able to come to you and say, am I being unreasonable? Is this unreasonable? And she was confirming everything, which I'm sure you could go, well, she convinced you. Therapists don't do that, though. They want what's
there's no
best
stake
for
in the
you.
game for them.
Yeah.
They're just an unbiased ear.
Yeah. So I immediately went there. I had that professional sounding board. I honestly ran everything through her, like decisions about money, and I made offers on alimony and said, here, I'll pay this for this amount of time. Let's try to do this without court. I went to my therapist before that. I said, does this sound like a reasonable number to you? Is this livable? Is this on? And, a third party who's not my mom or somebody, right?
Yeah.
So I ran, and I mean, we still went lawyers got most of, we weren't wealthy or anything, but the money we had is pretty much gone.
I'm laughing. I'm not laughing at your story.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
laughing because as you're saying, you're talking about therapists and how typically therapists, they're listening based on logic, right? Therapists aren't acting out of emotion in their response. They're acting out of logic. Okay?
Yes.
I have a friend, and if this friend figures out that I'm talking about them, I'm sorry.
Well, I've already talked about several
true.
people.
So we're both under the bus.
Be in trouble.
But this friend of mine had went to therapy many times with his wife, and they ended up switching therapists every time because the therapist was agreeing with him, not her.
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah.
So it's not her fault. It's the therapist's fault. Oh, they're siding with you again. We're getting another therapist. But they refuse to see that they're the problem.
Right.
And I don't know what it takes for them to finally wake up.
Yeah.
Maybe it never happens. I don't know. But
Look, from my viewpoint, I believe she was the problem. I'm sure you could bring her on here and she's going to tell you I'm the problem. But
I should bring her on here.
Have you?
How cool would that be?
She just wrote a book, so I got to wait and see. I might, refer her, but we'll see what's in the book first. But she'd be a good guest. But
that could be juicy.
you should have a song together.
Oh my God. That would be okay. Anyways, we'll talk.
Yeah.
We'll talk.
So I don't know that I want to do it.
I'd have to put a wall between you guys.
it's we get along now, thank God.
Good.
Have you seen Ozark?
Oh yeah.
Ozark, he was paying it. He goes, come on, man, let her win one tomorrow. Next time he's giving her an extra $100. You got to let her win one, and then just nothing too big. Yeah. But yeah, have you been to therapy?
Yes.
Yeah.
A few times, both for myself, for couples, during two different relationships, two different couples therapies, and then for myself.
Yeah.
It's
for me it was mind mapping, right? It's figuring out, why did I join the Marines? Why do I do jiu-jitsu? Why do I lift weights? It took me until I was 40 to realize, and that was from therapy. Thinking it over and over and over, and I go, oh, this is why I do those things. And it's almost like this freedom of, well, now I at least understand why I do it. You know what I mean? And then sometimes you can let go of those things because you go, that's silly. You know what I mean? I used to go to the movies by myself. I'd insist on going by myself. And one day I realized it's like, if I had a bad day, I was like, I'm going to go see a movie. And sometimes it got to a point where I was like, I've seen all these movies, And then I realized I'm hiding in the dark eating junk food. Literally hiding in the dark. And as soon as I realized that, I quit doing it. Because I was like, if I had a problem or I had a rough day, I would go, do you want to go hide in the dark? Or are you going to deal with this? And I would go deal with it. And I quit going to the movies.
A lot of people cope differently. Like you went to the movies, a lot of people turn to that.
Or
drugs, or Probably 100 other things.
And
but
they don't know why.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I'm sure we both go in circles that are like, there's guys going, oh, I'm not going, there's the macho thing. It's stupid.
it is stupid.
It's silly. It's fine. And you can continue to smack your wife around or whatever, however you get it out, or, that's not fair, I guess. But I know these guys, and I know that you cry at night sometimes. And I know that you have I know that you're not always happy, and you're like, well, I'm supposed to at least pretend that I'm the tough guy. No one is. No one can handle it. I know some of the toughest people on the planet I've met in my life, and I'm telling you, they can all find value in it.
Yeah.
You know?
Why do you think guys try to be so tough?
I think it's the same reason you and I started lifting weights, right? I think it's, well, if I show that I'm scared, you're going to take advantage of me. I think it's an instinctual. I think it's lizard brain,
Yeah.
All
right, Brian, at this point in life, we've talked about childhood leading into the military, into your current, I guess, life. But before we started this show, I alluded to a moment in time that you were told that you were going to die. Are you ready to talk about that?
Yeah.
But first, are you thirsty?
I am thirsty.
Cliffhanger.
Wah, wah, wah.
What would you like, buddy? It's your choice.
So what would be like the Miller Lite
Oh my
of
God.
bourbons? Like
Get
the
out.
lightest. What is that but
out.
lighter? What would be like a spritzer version?
Do you have any White Claws in here? I need a spritzer so bad.
It's just exhausting. No,
You're
I'll
dude, you're a freaking Marine. Come on
I'm
now.
a tequila guy.
Pour this on your head.
I'm willing to dealer's choice. Give me the roughest thing if you want.
Oh my God.
Give me the.
Well,
give me
let's
the.
not. I'm not.
So
gonna,
since I was a Marine, give me the $3 bottle of bourbon thing that also cleans your dry cleaning.
okay, we're gonna do some Buffalo Trace.
Nice.
This is so hard to find in Pennsylvania.
Is it?
Yes, it's ridiculous how hard it is to find.
Really?
You go to Ohio or, in the South or the Midwest, you can get a bottle of this for, $30 and there's cases of them in the store.
No shit.
Like here, you have to enter lotteries to get it.
Really?
I don't understand it. But
Huh.
Buffalo Trace is very good. I don't think it's as good as it is hard to get.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't wait in line for
Yeah,
it.
we should go to Kentucky and steal a cask of it.
Yeah.
Remember?
I
Did you-
saw that.
Wasn't that? Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
The Pappy Gate.
The Pappy. That's Pat Van.
Pap, well, which is also, it's a Buffalo Trace product.
Oh, is it? Okay.
But yeah, you were accurate there, bud.
Okay, that's what I thought.
But I'm giving you this one, because it's good. It's hard to find, and it's a really good, I think, starter bourbon.
Yeah.
It's
Smooth.
not gonna. Yeah, it's smooth. It's not gonna knock you on your ass.
Well, cheers.
Cheers, buddy.
Thanks for having me. It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tastes like Miller Lite.
No, nothing tastes like Miller Lite, man. You're good.
I'm not a beer guy.
Yeah.
I've never been a beer guy.
I'm not anymore. I mean, I did when I was young, right? You're stealing it out of your dad's fridge.
Mm.
But yeah, when I was young and I didn't know what to drink. Right?
Before we get into the diagnosis that changed your life,
Yeah.
being a bartender, did you form any bad relationship with alcohol, or did it kind of like keep you away from it?
No. So it's like another road, right? I have alcoholism in my family. So the short version is I've seen what it can do. And I've, as much as I want to take credit and go, I never really had that bug.
Okay.
There's been moments where I would like drink 3-4 nights in a row and then I'd go, wait, what are you doing? And I just wanted different things. Like it doesn't mix with lifting weights. It doesn't mix with boxing. It doesn't mix with,
Lifestyle.
yeah,
Choice.
yeah. So
Got
that
it.
helped a lot. I didn't want to like go do jujitsu with Ish hungover and let that turd beat me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he is a turd.
What a
You're
piece of
such a
shit.
turdish.
Guy.
Unbelievable. All right, well, let's get serious here, man. Let's talk about what I was alluding to earlier.
Yeah. So I was having health issues, right? Like, and keep in mind this is during COVID. I just felt, strength, like I would have get real warm for no apparent reason, not quite a fever, but feverish, and headaches. I felt like I had a sinus infection all the time. And then when you start going down the list of symptoms, they're all cancer symptoms. Like if you go down generalized symptoms where they'll go, if you have these random symptoms, you need to go get checked out, right? Something's wrong. I'd go to doctor after doctor, and I go to the VA, right? Great place, by the way,
Sure.
for the most part. It's a great place. And I would go to these doctors and nothing. And it got to a point my primary care doctor wouldn't even see me anymore. They would kind of go, we have to cancel your appointment, that kind of thing, because he didn't know what to do.
They couldn't figure it out.
They go, well, there's nothing wrong with you. We're doing your blood work. You're fine. And I'm sure they have a lot of people that are hypochondriacs, all that kind of thing. So I was in this loop of going to he would just send me to, I'm going to send you to urology and just send me wherever. And no one could figure it out. There was a few good doctors that were very in tune to something's not right because this guy doesn't fit the bill of a frequent flyer, right, in the hospital industry. And fast forward so they found this, I had a scan and there was a spot on the scan. And they sent me to ENT and they would look in my sinus and it was on my sinus and they'd look at my sinus and they couldn't see anything. So this doctor, I remember sitting with this doctor and he goes, I don't know, it's like a bundle of nerves or something. He goes, there's nothing there. It's on the scan, but there's nothing there. So they just couldn't figure it out. So I had a follow-up appointment for ENT, and ironically, I was gonna just skip and I was gonna go to Mexico. I was like, I'm just gonna get a cheap trip to Mexico, stressed out at work, that kind of thing. I was like, I have this doctor's appointment, I'll just blow it off. And I didn't, right? I show up to this doctor and there's this fantastic doctor, ENT at VA. His name's Dr. Eibling. I wanna give him a big shout out because that guy's amazing. He comes in, I walk into this exam room, they call me back, I go in this exam room, there's like 3 doctors in there. This guy starts taking a pen and rubbing it on my face and he goes, can you feel this? Can you feel this? And I kept getting numbness on this side of my face, was one of the symptoms. And 3 minutes, this guy did an exam and he goes, I want you to go downstairs and go to records and I want you to get a copy of your scan on a CD. You tell them it's for me and tell them you need it right away and come back and meet me in this room. And I'm like, okay. So I go down, I get the scan, I come back. This guy breaks to me, and I don't know the language, right? It's some kind of blastoma. He diagnosed me with, you have this very rare cancer. It's a slow-moving cancer. It's very deadly. And he said, this is what I believe you have. And I said, well, why hasn't anyone else said this? Everybody's been looking at this scan forever. He said, because no one knows about it. And he said, I only know about it because 20 years ago, I was at a seminar about this rare condition, this rare cancer. And he said, this is what I believe it is. He said, here's the good news. He said, I got you an appointment. You need to go to this appointment on Thursday. This is like a Tuesday. He said, on Thursday, I got you an appointment with Dr. Wong at UPMC. And people from UPMC will know who Dr. Wong is. This guy's amazing. And he said, the good news is, he kind of said, this is horrible. I'm just going to tell you out.
Right.
This is terrible. This is not good. But the good news is, if you were a billionaire in Dubai and you had this is the guy you would go see. He just happens to be a block away from here at Montefiore.
What?
So he said he is the guy in the world for you to see. So, and this guy's an otolaryngologist, ENT guy, right? So I leave there. I'm on the phone with a friend calls and I go, hey man, I think I just got diagnosed with cancer. And my head's spinning. I don't quite know. And I go, yeah, but he's still sending me for a second opinion.
Sure.
We don't know anything. So I kind of calm down and I go, it's the VA, right? And they're hearing hoofbeats. They're thinking zebras. It's probably horses, that kind of thing. So I talk it over with a friend. I go to this appointment on Thursday. The first time I meet Dr. Wong, And this guy's like famous in medicine, right? So he's like a big deal, I guess, there. So he comes in and he goes, sits down, immediately says, Dr. Eibling is concerned about this, this, and this. And he said, I share his concerns. And he says, I can do whatever the span. I think this was a Tuesday we're meeting, and this is May 2023, right? He says, I can do a biopsy on you next Thursday, a week from Thursday. He said, I need you to do that. Whatever you have going on, you have to cancel. And he said, if you can't make it Thursday, I can't see you until the fall. And I don't think you have that long.
Oh my God.
And that's when I'm like, wait, what do you mean I don't have that long? And he said, I need you to take this very seriously. He's like, you're not in a good situation. He's like, this is really bad. And he said, I'm going to do everything I can for you, but I just need you to cooperate.
So you were given like 6 months to live.
Essentially, I mean, yeah, possibly, right? Like,
Right.
because he's like, I don't know how long you know, like maybe you're not going to be around, right? So I leave there and until this biopsy happens, right? And I'm doing all this research on biopsies and, you know, I'm doing, and what this essentially was peroneurocancer. And the problem with peroneurocancer, much like leukemia or something, is what you worry about with a tumor or what is cancer is spreading, right? So if it's leukemia, it's in your blood, it's in your whole system. We can't just take that out. Right. Well, equally with peroneurocancer, it's in your nerves. So it's running through your entire body. You're like, it's already in your nervous system. You're cooked, right? So I start doing this research. The 5-year outcome on peroneurocancer is, I think 93% don't make it 5 years. And in my head, I kept thinking, like, how many die in year 6? What do the 7% look like after 5 years? Those are the things I'm thinking, right? So I'm screwed. They're telling me, don't get your hopes up. I mean, like right off the bat, which I know about doctors is they don't want to lead you down a road and be wrong and all those kind of things. So they're pretty certain. They said that we can tell by the scan that it's a malignant tumor. It's misshapen. It's not. And where it wasn't in my sinus. It was behind my sinus, in my skull. And there's a spot called the infratemporal fossa. And that's a closed chamber. And so the reason this is so rare is there's no way for it. There's some nerves in there. There's a nerve junction and there's a little bit of fat in there. They said there's nothing for cancer to grow on. Like there's not a, you know, it grows on cells.
Like
it grows
an
on
organ
things. They
or
said there's
something,
nothing in there. So they said that's why this is so horrible. And that's why it's so rare, is that this thing is in a place where nothing should be, right? They said we can't even really get to it. It's very difficult to get to. So going into a weekend, right? And when you're a single guy, you live by yourself, weekends are like, I don't have work to occupy myself with. I'm this.
Just in your thoughts.
You're just in your thoughts, right? And of course, Googling WebMD, going back and forth, like, well, maybe it's this, maybe it's that, maybe it's, and everything I come to is, it's all bad. None of this is good. But they were like, well, if it was this other thing, then I wouldn't have these symptoms and, you know, that kind of thing. So I want to say it was like the second day I go, I can't go like this. And I made a decision. I had like income property. My parents are now in their 80s, right? They're like 80 at the time. They're in their late 70s. And I'm like, I don't have a wife to take care of me. I wouldn't want to burden a wife with this anyway. So I go in and I decide, get your shit together, because you're going to have to turn it over to somebody. So I had an income property that was kind of in shambles, needed to be painted. I was like, I sat in my office, made a list, get the office straightened out, get the income property straightened out, get your passwords, make sure they know everybody that owes you money in the business, make sure that they have access to your accounts. I started making lists of, this is what I need to do. I want to say 2 days go by. And it was like the Saturday. I had this feeling of like, I was just happy. I'm like in my car, like going to the gym, playing music. And I'm like singing along. You know, when you're in those modes where you're like,
Yeah.
not a care in the world, right? I was wondering throughout the day, why am I happy? I just spent 2 days out of my head. And I just was happy. So I was thinking of it really hard that night before I went to bed. I'm like, huh. And then I was wondering, like, is this because my sister is pretty religious? Not a lot of people knew, by the way. There's like 3 people that know what's going on at this point. My sister is a very religious person. My sister's like, I'm praying for you. I'm doing this. I'm not, you know.
Sure.
And I was wondering, like, is this? I'm an analytical guy. I'm sure as you are. You
Yeah.
wouldn't be doing a podcast. I'm like, is this prayer? Is this my pituitary gland is spitting DMT because it's like, this is too much and we're gonna like ease it off on you? It's some chemical thing in the human body. What is it? Why am I so happy? And I'm talking not happy, euphoric, like happier than I've ever been in my life. And I had this feeling that no matter what happens, it's gonna be okay. Not that I'm gonna live, but it's just gonna be okay. If I die, it's gonna be okay. If I live, part of the decision that I made, I kind of missed, was when I'm making that list, I go, this is what you're gonna do. You're gonna survive as long as you're a pretty healthy guy. If anybody can make it, you can. If you can't, when it gets too much, you kill yourself.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not gonna leave my elderly parents with me to take care of. I'm not gonna, and peroneural cancer little by little shuts down every part of your body. As your nervous system shuts down, obviously you
Lose
everything.
function of.
It's a horrible way to die. It's, by all accounts, it's probably one of the worst ways to die. So not only am I gonna die, I'm gonna do this, and there's like no stopping, right? They can slow it down, they can do, but there's no stopping. So I'm going through this euphoria. The next morning I wake up and almost like it's right up against my face. The only way I can describe it is in my mind's eye is I see in pink graffiti letters, it just says God's love. And I don't even think in those terms, right? I don't even, that terminology, like God's love, I never thought of that term, right? And I go, oh, well, you were thinking about the night before. Why am I feeling euphoric? Why am I? So your mind, right? You've convinced yourself, and then now your brain did this thing where it's like continuing that thought and it's throwing a random option up, right? So I go through the next day. I go shopping at IKEA. I'm supposed to die, right? I'm like, oh, I'm gonna find a new, whatever, washcloths. I don't remember what I was getting, but I'm like going on a shopping trip. I'm having a blast, playing music all day again. I go to bed that night, not thinking of much. The next day again, exactly as soon as I wake up, in those seconds right when you wake up, same exact thing happens, right? To this day, I don't know what that is. I'm open to whatever. I know enough that I don't know anything. And I believe I'm not telling this story in any way to convince anybody of anything. I don't know. I still don't know what to do with it. I feel like there's something to do with it, but just stopping and going to church doesn't feel like it's satisfying that message, right? Yeah. It doesn't feel like why? How is this helping that, right? So I still am on that journey of trying to figure out what does that mean. But anyway, the 7 days go by, everything's fine. I'm so grateful that I didn't have to stay up every night. I slept like a baby that whole time. Better sleep than I've ever had. I go into the biopsy and I'm talking to the doctor before surgery and I go, what's making you think that I have this cancer? I don't think I do. And he said, because your face is numb. He said, your face wouldn't be numb if it's not. And I said, well, I don't think, he goes, maybe. You tell when somebody's kind of giving you the maybe. So one of the things I knew going into the biopsy is if they remove it in the biopsy, it's not cancer. Because if it is cancer, they have to make sure they're going in to explore, not only to test it, but to go, how will we go in? How do we get all the margins? How do we get them as much of it as we can? They come up with a plan, right? So if they just pluck it out randomly, that means it's not cancer. I'm in the recovery room. I wake up and first thing I go is, did they get it out? Nurse goes, yeah, they got it out. So I know that's good, but I don't know the results, right? I asked my parents like what the doctor said because I didn't get to see them. It's like 9:00 at night at this point. And they're like, oh, he said it was like gel and it wasn't quite. And the nurse is saying, listen, they had the guy that tests, I can't think of the name for it, the guy that tests the biopsy.
Pathologist.
They had the pathologist come into the ER. She said they had him come into the OR while you were being operated on because they wanted him to see it right away. And he said, it's not cancer. And she said, these guys look at cancer every day. They know what cancer looks like. And he said, I don't know what it is, but it's not cancer, right? So in the end, it was a malignant tumor. But understand malignancy is its ability to travel. Benign means it's stationary and all those kind of things. So the only tumor most doctors know of that's malignant is cancer. So those terms get crossed.
Got it.
I've had doctors that I'm going to see go, no, you're wrong. It's cancer. And then I will run it against my doctors and they go, no, it's generally yes, but in this case, no, right? So it's tested for IgG4 inflammatory disease. Or that's IgG4 inflammatory cells, right? So they said this was like a gel. It's not really a tumor. They call it a pseudotumor, right? But it's still a malignant tumor, so you have to get treated like it's a malignant tumor. So happy elation, right? I'm not going to die. This is dangerous if you don't get it treated. It's like it can eat away at eventually it'll overcome your bone tissue. And I saw pictures online with dudes that caved in faces.
Like Two-Face,
Yeah. So, but we got it, right? So then I go, everything cool, no problem. Anything from here on, I don't care. So I go they take me to rheumatology is who's going to treat that. I go back to the VA for rheumatology and they say, we're going to put you on prednisone for 6 months, 7 months, whatever.
Antibiotic.
No, that's what I thought too.
Yeah.
It's like the strongest anti-inflammatory.
Okay.
What it actually is cortisol. So the cortisol that we're trying to avoid, prednisone is synthetic cortisol. So what they do is if you have a lung infection, right? The reason they're giving that is they want the swelling to go down so you can get a chance to heal. That's why they give you prednisone. They give you like 10, maybe you'll get 15 milligrams for 2 days. Then you go to 10, 5, and they wean you off.
It's a steroid.
It's a steroid. Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. So they have to wean you off of it to get it, but you essentially take the dose for 2 days and it's like 15 milligrams. I was on 60 milligrams for 5 months.
That's dangerous.
Dude, it'll kill you.
Yeah.
It's and so they're giving me all the warnings. I'm like, bring it on, man. Let's get this done. So I go through the first 5 weeks, and then that's 5 weeks is my big dose, and then they wean me off, right? Well, the wean off is like 45 milligrams for 4 weeks. So and then they say, like, look, you're gonna gain like 60 pounds. I was like, not me. I'm not gaining 60 pounds. I'm in the gym constantly. Like I'm
You're gonna fight it.
It makes you hungry, all those kind of things. That's where people get moon face. If you see these elderly people where their back is completely, they're on prednisone. It kills your bone tissue. You have to take calcium with it, all this stuff, right? So first like 4 weeks, I'm like, I'm killing this, man. I'm fine. I'm hungry. I'm gaining a little weight, but I'm good. I'm going to be good because I'm already weaning off. It took like 6 weeks before, dude, I was a different person. I did not gain 50 to 60 pounds. Thankfully, I gained like 35 pounds. I grew a big beard. I didn't want to leave the house. If you can believe this, Sean, I'm a pretty vain guy. So I was like, I can't do this. I was like trying to cover myself up. I was trying to train and no strength. Your hypertrophy system shuts down. It does not work. So when you're going to get a pump, you're like lifting and there's no pump.
Nothing.
It's the weirdest thing. So I go through that. I want to say, and then to kind of like bring it in, it was, I get off of that Christmas of that year. Christmas Eve was my last day. So it was like May to Christmas. And then all of 2024, I just worked on getting better. And then 2024, December, I competed at Worlds. I did shitty. I was stiff. I hadn't competed in a long time, but I was like, I got to do this. I lost the weight. I made it into my weight class barely. I was cutting weight the day of, all that kind of stuff. And I wasn't back, but I was way better. You know, to me, I just had to get there, right? Yeah. And then, so that's kind of it. It just lost a lot of muscle, was all fat, you know, and then I feel like now in the last 6 months that I finally feel normal
like yourself again.
Yeah.
So you're taking this prednisone for 5-ish months to save your life, but it's like slowly killing you at the same time.
It's awful.
And it's almost like, why am I even doing this?
I don't know that I would do it again because this tumor's still there, right? It's just smaller. So if
Will it ever go away?
I don't know. They don't know. That's the other thing is no one knows with this thing. And let's like, the thing that kept getting lost on me is I'm talking to these doctors. I have 3 doctors involved. One's Dr. Wong, 4, I should say. Dr. Eibling, who was the ENT. Dr. Gordon was my rheumatologist. She's at UPMC now. Fantastic doctor. She did an amazing job. So if you're listening or watching, and Dr. Gupta is my primary, right? Beyond those 4 doctors, I go to physical therapy. I have a neck injury from the Marines. And I'm constantly in physical therapy for it. It just keeps me up, keeps me mobile and moving. And I'd go in there and these guys would argue with me and they go, well, you have IgG4 inflammatory disease. Generally, that's a systemic disease. And you go on rituximab for that. That's the alternative, which is radiation. That's the alternate. And they say it's worse than prednisone. I don't know. But trying to convince your doctor, that no, a malignant tumor, I'll tell them my scenario, I'll give them a brief version, they go, that's not possible. It's this freak thing. There's one study done in Japan and they were able to find 7 people that had it to do a study.
Wow.
And that's the only study that's ever been done. Dr. Wong, world-renowned doctor, he's like, he goes, you should be dead. I don't know. We didn't expect it, and he's a true scientist. I would say, well, what causes? I don't know, I don't care. I know that you're okay. I know that I need to move on to the next patient, and I know now it's in your rheumatologist court, and not in a bad way. He's not, he's
not
just
pushing
saying,
it off, right?
I'm a scientist, man.
Sure.
This is my part. If you need help in this area, I'm here. You need to go see Dr. Gordon, and if you guys want to figure out why, I don't care why.
Right.
I just want to get you better. So they don't know how it happened. They don't know why it happened. So there's 2 forms. There's the systemic disease and then there's the tumor. The tumor exists, but it's usually in people's gut. So they actually did a hard search on my gut because they thought maybe it traveled from my gut to it's the only place I had the tumor. So they did scans over and over again in my entire body. And it's just a freak. They cannot figure out why it would start there, how it would start there. It just doesn't really exist there.
That's wild. I mean, to Dr. Wong's point, it's almost like, who cares? You could spend the rest of your life trying to figure it out. But the important thing is you're okay now, right?
Yes. Well, my only reason that I want to know why is because I go, how do I curb that behavior? Because I'm afraid of it growing back.
This kind of gets back to, what did you do wrong?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that is.
That's the full circle. Like,
very,
what did I do wrong to cause this?
Yeah. How did I?
Yeah. What did I eat? What did I touch?
Right.
Right?
Right. I also think in a way of like, as much suffering as that is, and I'm sure you go through the same thing with being a people pleaser. What did I do wrong? There's also a gift in that. Because how often are you constantly solving your own problems or sphere of influence, right? Here's a problem. my marriage is failing. What can I do? I can't control what that person does. I can only control what I do. That's got me out of more trouble, or it's made my life way better than it has worse. But the mental wear that it's on you is tough because you're constantly going, what did I do wrong?
Yeah.
What do I need to change? But then you also have this gift of ultimate accountability. You were born with it. Don't you think?
Yeah. Do you feel like you did something wrong?
Do you mean to get that?
Yeah. Like, do you take blame for it?
I don't know if blame's the right word. I think that's no, not in the way I think you're asking. I don't.
Yeah. I guess I'm asking, are you convinced that at one point in your life you made a wrong decision and it ended up causing this very rare
like a
issue?
God's punishment type issue, maybe. Or a practical
both.
Hey, I ate too much ice cream and
yes.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder, right? I mean, I wonder both. But look, with this, this is when I say this is like this gift, right? Not the tumor was this gift. I got to face death, right? Or face being told I was going to die. Have that experience, as horrible as that was, and I know how I'm going to react because I was in that scenario where I didn't know any other way, right? To a point that this Dr. Eibling, when I went on a follow-up appointment, he brought the same 3 doctors in the office and they questioned me on, we've never had someone that we delivered that news to and they're fine. How should we have delivered the news? I'm telling you, this guy is like 45 years as a doctor. He's like, eyes are watering, giving me a hug. Going, I can't believe it. Like, you know what I mean? So it's a gift. You've got 45 years. He's like, I've never seen anything like this. So I also go down the road of like that moment when I felt that euphoria was it cancer? And it was like, bink. Like, did God or whoever, and anybody that wants to DM me, natural_office, and you have ideas on this or whatever, DM me whatever questions or if I can help in any way, or you have I don't know how I can help, but I'm welcoming any advice on. I've talked to some religious people where I've gone like, what do you think I should, this is my experience. And then they go, yeah, man, that's what it's like when you love God. Yeah, of course. And it's like, you're too not, like, yeah, man, that's because you're a non-believer. You don't know how we feel. And it's like, I don't believe that. I mean, I'm not saying I don't believe. I'm just saying that I feel like you're using this for your purposes of recruitment, or I want to kind of figure this out for myself. And I feel like if that's the right path, I'm happy to help with recruitment in any way. But until I figure out, I was given this experience, right? Whether it was real or not, I don't know. The thing I can't convey to anybody is the feeling, right? So that's why I feel like it was real, but I still don't know what to do with it. I'm still not going to church every Sunday. I go sometimes, I believe, but I go, is it the people? The church is just people and they're all human. I don't know. I'm confused.
You probably will be the rest of your life.
Yeah.
I mean, you might never find the actual answer, right?
Yeah.
Do you lose sleep at night about this? Like, is this something that you think about all the time?
No. I honestly, I was, I went through this thing all day, right? Because I wanted to kind of recount the story in my head just to prepare. I haven't really thought about it. I mean, like in fragments, I'll go, oh yeah, I know how that feels because I had this, right?
Yeah.
And I'll tell one small part of that story. I don't think there's probably 3 people I told the God's love thing to, because I don't know what that means. And so I don't think about it that much. I think about my health, right? In that aspect, I have like a swelling I've noticed in the last like 6 months. I have this weird swelling in my eye. I go, hey, is that why do I have all this weird stuff right on my right side? Anytime I have any kind of weird congestion, it's always on my right side. I'm constantly going, is the tumor growing back? Anytime I feel anything, don't get me wrong.
Hyperfixated on it.
And probably rightly so, right? I'm
Absolutely.
trying vigilant.
Absolutely.
I would say
Yeah.
vigilant.
You're being
you know?
proactive.
Proactive,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't want to have to go on the cortisone again or prednisone again. So, yeah, so I don't lose sleep over it. I actually sleep better now. From the day I got diagnosed, I don't know why I slept like a baby. I just slept through the night. That didn't match to me.
Doesn't match to me either.
I don't know what
I'm
it
not
was.
I'm not a therapist. I'm just a dude listening to your story.
Yeah.
I don't have answers for you either.
Oh, come on, man.
Sorry.
You're supposed to be the guru.
I failed.
But have you had experiences where you go, like you mentioned, come on, give it up. You mentioned you were told you should have died.
Yeah.
What was that like?
So yeah, last October, I woke up one morning and my calf was tight. Thought I slept wrong, had a cramp in my sleep. It didn't loosen, whatever. The next morning, woke up, my whole calf was swollen. Definitely worse than the day before. I didn't, again, think anything of it. Typical guy. You know, I'll walk it off. I'll lift it off. I'll slap some dirt on it. It's going to be fine.
Yeah. You're like, I pulled something when I was
Something,
lifting.
yeah,
Yeah. You're
right.
always getting little.
Yeah, I logically thinking like it's probably nothing. And then the following day, my calf had swollen so bad my skin was shiny. Like Maria,
Yeah.
my girlfriend, was like, "Babe, like looks like your leg's going to explode." And then she felt it and felt it was hot.
Okay.
She said, "You need to get this looked at." And
Yeah.
again, I was just like, "Yeah, okay, I'll make an appointment." Went to my PCP. Nurse practitioner walked into the room. I was wearing shorts, so it was easy to see. As soon as she looked at it and she felt it, she's like, "You need to go get a Doppler ultrasound right now."
Yeah.
So I'm just like, okay. Earliest
Yeah, what's
appointment I
that
could
mean?
get
Okay,
was
yeah.
earliest appointment I could get was like the following evening. And she's like, "I don't think you should wait that long.
Yeah.
I think it's a blood clot."
Yeah.
I'm just like, blood clot? Like, that doesn't happen to people like me,
Right.
in shape,
Elderly
young.
with compression socks. Yeah.
Yeah, right? So my ex-wife does ultrasounds at West Penn Hospital. So I called her. I said, "Are you working?" She's like, "Yeah, what's up?" So I need to come in for a Doppler. They think I have a blood clot. She's like, "Well, if you get here in the next hour, I can scan you right now." So
Wow.
ran to the hospital. As soon as she put that probe to my leg, she's like, "Holy shit, your whole leg is blocked from my groin down to my calf."
So did you feel numbness, anything like that, or you just
It
had
was
the clot?
sore, swollen,
Yeah.
nothing
No
really
pins
else.
and needles.
No.
That's weird. Yeah.
So admitted myself to the ER. They verified that my whole leg was clotted. So they gave me a blood thinner to go. It
Oh,
said-
really? Yeah.
Yeah. It's like one dose.
Yeah.
And they didn't really seem concerned. And I was just like, they ended up doing a CT of my chest, and I had 2 pulmonary embolisms in my lung. So 2 pieces broke off and made it to my lung.
Really?
And they still sent me home with a blood thinner,
Yeah.
a freaking pill.
That's wild.
So, anyways, long story short, I had a procedure. They go in through your calf and suck out the clot.
Yeah.
So I had that done at Forbes. I reclotted in 12 hours. The whole leg clotted again after they removed all of it.
Wow.
So I admitted myself to AGHER,
Yeah.
and they removed it again. And I have a picture of it. If you haven't seen the episode where I talk about this in great detail, I shared a picture. Here's the picture again, if you really want to see it. But yeah, even the doctor that pulled it out, he was just like, "I don't think I've ever seen this before."
Yeah.
You think of a clot as this little speck of goo.
Yeah.
This was a whole paper towel full of goo.
Really?
It was, anyways. The doctor said you shouldn't be alive. Like,
Yeah.
people shouldn't survive
Dude,
this.
people die in 24 hours of those.
People
like, I
die
mean-
with one little
Yeah,
thing
yeah.
go into their head or to their
Yeah.
heart. And I had a whole
Yeah.
leg worth.
Yeah.
that didn't go anywhere else.
Yeah. Yeah. People
So-
have like, I kind of have a pain in my leg. I'll see the doctor and the next day they're dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was, I heard so many times from all the nurses and all the doctors, you're too young, you're too healthy to be dealing with this. And what did you say earlier? What did I do wrong?
Did you feel that way?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like what caused this? They're pinpointing, I was on TRT. They're
Yeah,
like, yep,
yeah.
the TRT caused your blood clots.
How is it thin your? Yeah, but doesn't it thin your blood?
Well, it doesn't thin it. It does thicken your blood a little bit, but to that extent,
Yeah.
come on now. They're throwing out all these other. I had broke my foot a couple months before, but
Yeah.
I wasn't sedentary. I don't think I clotted because I broke my foot because I was still moving around.
Yeah.
I think it was COVID. I got the antibody test after all my procedures, and I was positive. And I had the vaccine, the first vaccine. They're coming out with all these stories about what the vaccine has done and all the
Vaccine
different effects.
injuries. That's wild.
So yeah,
I don't know. I know you don't get. I mean, I'm not a political person anyway. I know you don't get into
nope.
politicals, but it's that's a. Just tell us, man.
yeah,
Just
I know.
You know what I mean.
Why?
That's all. That to me is not a political statement.
no,
Just tell us what's in going through this, because I was going through this during COVID. You have COVID. You have COVID, and it's like, dude, I took a test. I don't. I've been feeling like this long before. That kind of thing.
they're boosting the numbers because they get a kickback from
Yeah.
whatever.
And then you start to go, like JFK, the CIA was involved. We knew that. And it's like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
This isn't a big deal. Like, I mean, it's come on, conspiracies happen. I mean, there's so much evidence, and then they go, that's old news.
Yeah.
Like, why are you gonna bring up old shit?
I know. But yeah, I mean, it was, you don't look at things the same. Do I think about it every day? I asked you the question, does it keep you up at night?
Yeah.
I don't think about this every day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, every once in a while, I'll see the incisions. I still have scars on the back of my calf from when they did the incision to pull the shit out. I'll look at that and it reminds me of the stuff. My right leg is always swollen. It probably will be for the rest of my life. I jokingly say I finally have the big calf I've always wanted because my calves are really small. But yeah, I mean, it's always going to be swollen. I'm on blood thinners probably for the rest of my life too.
So like warfarin.
I'm on Eliquis.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. It's just, you think you're doing all the right things. You think you're healthy.
Yeah.
But like you said, what's the reason? Why did this happen to me? Maybe you never have the answer.
I think we're at that age. I think it's our turn. My dad used to say it's your turn in the barrel, right? And I don't know, Navy, that's like an old Navy term, if you know what that means. But we're getting older. In around 40s is when things start happening. You start to have health. Your body's starting to break
Falling
down.
apart.
There's different- And I feel like I'm way ahead of the curve. If I see a symptom, I do what I can to resolve it, and I think you have to advocate for yourself.
Oh my, more now than ever, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one thing I learned through this is at the VA I pissed a lot of people off. Like I filed complaints. I did it, but in the moments, and then if I look back, I was right. And so now moving forward, I go, I know I'm very kind to everyone that I interact with. I'm very nice. I'm exactly how I am with you. And I'll say, if something I feel like I'm not being taken care of, and this is, you'll know, it's very difficult to do. I'm now in practice of doing it, but I'll just say, well, listen, I'm sorry to hear that, but I want you to know I'm going to file a complaint. So you can either do this or I can file a complaint. I'd rather not because it's a huge mess. But this is what I'm asking for. If you're unsure of this, can you send me to someone else? And I'd be happy for that. But if you do nothing, I'm going to file a complaint. And they're not happy. They're usually,
Yeah.
oh,
Right.
you know everything. I'm just a doctor. And you go, but I know how I feel. Especially
It's your body.
being athletic.
Yes.
You're more in tune to your body. I'm sure
Absolutely.
you are. You're
Yep.
way more in tune to your body than somebody who never works out.
Yep.
Like when something's wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes I'm wrong, but it's like that sometimes, you know?
It happens.
Yeah.
Well, there's one last thing to do, Brian. We have to arm wrestle.
Do we? Man, I'm not the best arm wrestler.
Perfect. You come to the right place.
All right. I'm trying to
This
take
is just
my manhood.
this is just for entertainment, buddy. No, you can leave that back there.
I think we should do a jiu-jitsu match. Oh.
That's a different podcast.
Is it? We'll do it. Me, you, and Ish.
That's issues. Issues. That's hard to
Can I
say.
stand?
Why
that
the hell would
unfair?
you stand? No,
I don't
you're
know,
not
I feel
standing.
like-
No, you're not standing.
See,
Dude,
you have me
this
on
is
the-
this is for entertainment. All right, I'm gonna ask you a question
All right.
as we do this. Go ahead, start.
Come on.
Brian, with all that you've been through, do you have any regrets in life? Anything you wish you changed?
All right. So, if anybody does the podcast, notice that he pulls everything in close to him
I'm no,
right
I'm no
off the
idiot.
bat.
I'm not an idiot.
So, notice how much closer. I'm gonna measure this on video. How much closer his elbow is into his body, which makes you stronger.
Okay,
But I do suck at arm wrestling. I'm sure you'd beat me no matter what.
all joking aside, I don't study arm wrestling.
Okay.
I am not a form arm wrestling. I know nothing about arm wrestling. Okay? I just figured this would be a fun thing to do to kind of bring a fitness thing into things,
Yeah.
and to lighten the mood. I'm not.
Boost your ego.
I
There's like a
know
button under
nothing
the
about
table.
technique. Sure, have I learned a few things over the last 67 episodes? Yeah, I have.
Yeah.
But anyways,
Well, it's the Barbells version, right?
Sure.
Of the Barbells and Bourbon. I like it.
You gotta
When in
bring
Rome.
in some right.
Yeah.
So, any regrets, man?
In life, or I mean,
Anything? Is there anything? You said you did a lot of reminiscing
I did,
leading
man.
up to today.
I constantly do. Oh yeah. So I'll leave it with this: is there's a movie called Big Kahuna. Danny DeVito. There's another actor. I can always mess his name, but he's a guy that's in a lot of trouble now. But anyway, Big Kahuna, and a guy says it's three guys at different stages of life, right? A young guy, a middle-aged guy, and an older guy ready to retire. And one of the guys accuses the young guy of not having any character. And Danny DeVito plays the older guy. He explains to him that he said it's your regrets that give you character, right? And the young guy says, so you're saying I have no character because I didn't do anything I regret? And he says, no, you've done plenty to regret. It's when you realize what those things were. So I would say I have plenty of regrets. I'm okay to live with them all because they made me who I am. And I can't change them if I wanted to. And I know that I try every day to be a good person now. And most of the way, as hard as I try to be a good person, it's because of my regrets.
I like that. And I've asked other guests that same question, but I asked you that specifically because you've said many times,
Yeah.
what did I do wrong to deserve this? Right?
Yeah,
So that's
yeah.
why I asked you. I'm like, okay, dude's got to have some regrets if he's always second guessing himself.
Oh, yeah.
But you don't look at it exactly like that. And I like that.
Good.
Yeah.
What's your regrets?
I regret not getting more time with my kids.
Yeah. That's a hard one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you can't get it back.
Yeah. You can do it now.
Yeah, we live in different houses now, and certain things led up to that, which some of you know, some of you don't. But I should have tried harder to spend more time and not look at that distance as, I don't want to say an excuse not to see them,
Yeah.
but
Where do they live? Where do your kids
they're
live?
freaking 5 miles away.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
They're not out of state or anything.
But the kids,
But it's just like that distance is like, I don't want to say you just forget, but it's enough to just, you know what I mean? They're not here,
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
and it's almost like,
It's easy for people to judge right? And especially you're an active person, right? You're coaching, you lift weights, you're doing a podcast, and you're being this guy that your kids can be proud of, and you're being your own person, which I actually put on a pedestal, right? So many people like, look, I go to a travel ball with my kid all the time, and they live vicariously through their kids.
Yeah.
And you go, well, how about, what part of it is that? But if I can tell one quick story, I know a guy in jiu-jitsu, much older guy, and he just got his black belt in jiu-jitsu. And we had a conversation, and he was an lifelong alcoholic. And he does jiu-jitsu. His son was a black belt long before him. He does jiu-jitsu all the time. They do, every day they meet at his house, and they do jiu-jitsu like in his basement or something. And I asked him about it, and I said, well, maybe you get into it now. And he said, I spent my whole life, in bars. I was away from my kids. And he said, this was, it could have been crocheting. If my kid was into crocheting, I would have went. And he goes, I go to that kid's house every day, and I get to spend I don't care what we're doing.
Yeah.
It happens to be jiu-jitsu. He's now this guy's a world title holder, the 65, or he's a 68.
Yeah.
And so it's never too late is what I got out of that, is like,
it isn't,
man, even as an adult. And I think it's easy, once your kids are older, they can go, my dad's a good guy.
My middle daughter, Zoe, graduated yesterday.
Wow.
From high school.
Congrats.
She made a post with a picture of her and I, and she said, my hero.
Yeah.
Meaning me. And then me, I'm like, why am I your hero?
Yeah.
Because I don't see you very much. Like, I'm not trying not to get emotional, man. But
yeah.
I'm just like, I could have done better.
Yeah, but
But if she still sees me as that, I guess I'm not doing that bad.
No, you're not. I mean, people don't get what goes in. There's people out there that go, oh, you got a podcast? That's cool. You got time to do stuff like that? Like, no, because I make time.
Yeah.
It's legacy. It's all these things. And I view it as, Ish and I talked about this. I want to be the guy that I didn't have when I was a kid or something. And I'm not saying my dad owned a business and he was very much somebody to look up to. I don't want to, but I want to be that cool. I'm 51 now.
Yeah.
I want the kids in the gym to go, man, that guy's cool. You know what I mean? Like, probably not. But,
and my kids, they're always telling me like, oh, so-and-so said they saw you on their Instagram reel, and they're like, oh my God, that's your dad, and that's so cool. Or their teachers like, I saw your dad on a podcast. Oh my God.
Dude,
like,
that's awesome for them.
It is. And this is a selfless thing that I'm doing. This isn't for me. I'm really not getting anything out of this. I'm not making a ton of money. I've made $200 in a year and a half.
Yeah.
Come on now.
Hey, it's 200 more than a lot.
Still $200.
But still.
But I'm opening my home
Yeah.
to all of my guests. I'm setting up an hour and a half before you get here.
Yeah.
I'm spending 10 hours editing every episode. I'm talking to you for 2 hours.
Right. It's a lot.
It's a lot. And again, this isn't for me.
Yeah.
This is for you, and it's for you. Simple as that.
Having done your podcast, it's not a vanity project. I can tell that right off.
No.
It's not a vanity.
I do very little talking.
Yeah.
I'm not like, wait, listen to me, guys. I know everything.
Yeah.
I don't, yeah.
I think it's admirable. I do. And I think your kids think it.
I'm just trying to do the right thing.
I mean, every day you get up and you go, how can I be a better dad? How can I be a better, if you're like me, which I think you are, it's like, fuck.
Yeah.
And one of the things I learned recently, I heard somebody on a podcast say, I always wonder if I'm lazy. And I heard a guy on a podcast go, do you think a lazy guy wonders if he's lazy? Yeah. He goes, just you wondering if you're lazy means you're not lazy. So
that's one of my biggest fears, is someone's going to say I'm lazy.
Yeah.
And I do every single day. I try to fight that.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm not lazy.
That's awesome.
Well, Brian,
Thank
it's been
you.
a pleasure, dude. Seriously.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
you're very welcome. Like one of these episodes over here. Yeah. like
Yeah.
one of these episodes, subscribe to the channel. It's completely free. Like the video. Brian just talked a lot about his life, very intimate details that he said only a few people even know. And I will see you on the next episode of Barbells and Bourbon. Peace.
Thanks.
That's good stuff, man.
Good shit, man.
You said you were going to get emotional. I freaking got emotional.